And welcome to week 5, or so Ethan tells me, and if he's wrong, he's fired, of our campaign, Destiny Horizon, on the Star Wars Tides of Change Facebook group website thing. How are all of you doing?
Great.
Fine.
Alright, well, let's just get into stuff. For those of you who need a recap, I'm going to make it quick. You ready? You guys ready?
Yep.
So basically, in the long run, finally Grakazza and Valery get back to the planet's surface to try to negotiate and find out what's going on with Coran and the 3 wise men at this brothel that they heard about, which Yurga's on a secret mission for. And Valery and Grakazza end up getting cornered by these 2 gang teams, or, well, actually, it's one gang, and the one gang's like, you took a taxi cab of ours and damaged it, and now you have to pay. And Valery's like, diplomacy, diplomacy, and he hits her in the face. Grakazza comes out and goes, I'm a big scary Wookiee. The other gang's like, oh shit, fires its lasers. Grakazza goes, and dodges out of the way. But then it hits a wall next to another gang, which is like, we're gonna get in on this action, and they're shooting like crazy. Meanwhile, Coran's getting drunk with a guy named Mick that was hooked up with the Commissioner Malin, and now Mick is trying to get Coran as drunk as possible, while Coran's trying to negotiate a deal to open up talks with the banking guild. Okay, there we go.
Fantastic work.
Yes, well done.
Valery.
Yes.
Coran.
What's up?
Grakazza. Yep, there you go. I need all of you to roll a destiny. Give me the dark side.
No dark points, no dark points, no dark
Shit!
points.
Yes.
Fuck! Damn it, Coran.
I'm drunk, I'm sorry.
Show me the money, Valerie.
All right. I never remember. This is the black
destiny
dice,
roll.
correct?
Yeah, you go up to... You don't even have to add it to that. Below it, it says roll destiny.
Oh, thanks. All right. Okay.
Fuck. Dang it.
Black, white.
Okay, it's a tie, 2 and 2. Now let me check my pools and make sure that they're accurate on my end, because if they're accurate on my end, then all I have to do is sync real quick just to make sure everybody's is ready. They're accurate on my end for some player update. There we go. Let's clear the log and continue playing. So, Valerie, your vision is fuzzy. You're laying on the ground. And you're holding your head. It's not like you hear the tinnitus, like, ee. Instead, it's muffled. It almost sounds like you're underwater. You just hear, oh my god. You do see the flashes of bolts, and you hear something explode very close to you in Grakazza. Boom! Pieces of smoky metal are everywhere. Grakazza stumbles forward because of the explosion and ends up getting close to the lead gangster who's firing. Grakazza, please roll me a brawl against a difficulty of 2 purple.
Okay. It's been a while since I gotta go back through the sheet.
Yeah, Grakazza's used to getting shot. Not.
You know what's sad? That's completely true, and I can't deny it. Against 2 purple, yeah?
Should have kept that arm shield from Praxis.
Alright, here we go.
Oh, yeah, so with 2 advantage, you go to grab the guy, he slips out, but do you want to hang on to those 2 advantage to pass him off as boost die, or do you want to describe something narratively cool in this slow motion scene?
I think I'll hand it off.
Okay. So he's going to hand off... Now, do you want to do 1 to a specific player, or do you just want to do 2 to whoever needs them?
To whoever needs it.
Fantastic. Valerie, you see Grakazza chasing after this guy. The guy nimbly jaws just out of Grakazza's grip, but you could tell that they're about to have a melee confrontation. And you're looking at your hands, and you can kind of see the illusion of multiple hands behind them as you had your senses clocked. But the guy who struck you is no longer standing next to you. Grakazza's pushing him back.
All right, I'm gonna try and now there's a firefight going on, correct?
Yes, there's a firefight going on around you.
I'm going to try and get under the ramp of the ship.
Okay, yeah. You scramble. You scramble underneath the ramp of the ship, and you look out. As you're looking towards Grakazza, there's something smoldering behind him. Possibly a warhead that went off. And you can't quite get grasp of the scene yet, as you've been pretty rattled, but Grakazza's definitely out there alone and might need some help, and there's no one around to help him. Grakazza, the slow motion comes to you. You reach out for the guy, and as you reach, he kind of swats your hand away, like, get away from me, and then swings at you with his rifle, missing you, of course. And then, as he swings at you with his rifle, you realize that the firing's going on and getting closer and closer.
So am I just like kind of basically engaged in combat in the middle of this crossfire between these two groups?
Yeah, you should have no problem with that.
Okay.
Hang on one second.
Well,
real quick. Hang on one second.
Well, I have an idea.
Okay.
It's a very Grakazza idea.
Oh yes. I want to see it.
He doesn't have a shield this time, so I don't know that I can really do that.
I mean, you could just tear this guy's head off, or arms, or limbs, anyone. You know, I'm not picky. Or you know, get the rifle from him and bash his head in. I mean, he did hit Valery. So,
Oh yeah,
you know,
no, it's
this guy's gotta go down one way or the other.
yeah. I've got an idea.
Although this is gonna be interesting to explain to the commissioner.
What, you getting really drunk and possibly fucking up a negotiation and me just dismembering people on the planet?
I'm negotiating. I got this. I've never done this, but I got this.
Okay, LT.
Okay, I told my kids it's not okay to scream if they're not in danger.
That's right.
You couldn't even hear him, other than
I
the
could.
one when he was being attacked. Okay.
Yeah, and now he has all the action figures laying on the ground, and he's got a saw from Handy Manny in his hands, and it's got a really happy face on it, and he's sawing their arms. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I asked them, do you want to play a game? And I'm like, oh, I wonder what movie he's been overhearing that his mommy watches. She's a big horror fan, and apparently he's been spying on it and watching it.
No.
So,
Oh,
Curious
boy.
George apparently is now playing the game. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Grakazza. Everything's going in slow motion for you now. The guy nimbly steps back. What do you do?
Given that I kind of want to get out of this little crossfire that I found myself in, I'm going to just do my best to just charge forward, take this guy out, and then rush back to Valery to make sure she's okay. So that's my game plan right now.
So you rush back to him, and what he ends up doing is he ends up turning away from you and running, and then diving behind cover, behind his taxi, and firing with the rest of his men. So now you're kind of exposed to both. And as you're looking at him, you see a blue laser off his shuttle as sparks fly up, coming from the other side. All the lasers in this city, like the ones they're shooting and the ones the others are shooting, are blue and yellow.
I think it's around this time that I realized maybe it's not a good idea to be faced with a firing squad, and so I turn around and I bolt for the loading ramp.
All right, you bolt. I'm going to need you to roll a, what's the name of that skill for balance? Is it coordination?
Athletics.
Yes. I need you to roll a coordination check against a difficulty of 3 as you're running back.
Coordination, you said?
Yep.
No.
Okay,
Oh,
so
God.
You're running and you slip on something and fall to your knees. Now, it doesn't do any real damage. You're just stuck out here on another turn. And you look down and you see Tittles' arm. You had stepped on it, and it rolled out from under you, and you fell onto the ground.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
All right, back to Valery. Valery, you see Grakazza running back to you, and he slips on something and eats shit. And you realize that the smoldering warhead that you had seen earlier has a very recognizable pair of legs.
How did Tittles was in the ship? All right.
Wait,
so
wasn't it in the ship that landed with you, right? The Folly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the Folly, and right before she came down, she was doing doing science stuff,
right?
At things. So now he was blown up.
Well, he was hit. There's a lot of smoke, but droids don't necessarily die when they blow up. We've learned that.
So what I'm going to do, Valerie's going to do, is going to click on her communication device and try and contact the local authorities the best she can.
Yeah, you're trying to connect, and it looks like there's a connection issue at their server in this department. Either you're being jammed, or there's a bunch of people using it.
Okay. So I'm going to keep trying to do that because I don't have any weapons on me. Because that was sort of the point, not to come down with armed or anything to piss off the goons. But no, look how that happened.
You do see your weapon in Tittles' slack arm, the one that's still attached to the body. It looks like Tittles was bringing you your gun.
Okay.
So
how far away is
we're gonna cut. Right at the end of the ramp. He just came down the ramp. So we're gonna cut to last episode when Grakazza was staring at the window and saw her get hit and went. He left, and Tittles saw it as well, and Tittles was like. So the two of them were running down the ramp. Hey, he can get down on the ramp pretty quick. So yeah, you can try to crawl up there and spin your movement to go get the weapon, but it does put you out in the open and away from a hiding spot.
I'm going to wait.
All right, so you're waiting. Meanwhile,
because I'm going to try and get help.
Coran, the blue cathodes of the neons all around this room has been giving you this completely blue face. Everything is cast in blue, and occasionally a strobe light will flash by and reveal all the coloring. And Mick is just eyeballing you and smirking slightly when all of a sudden your communications perk up. And in the communications, you hear static, and then all of a sudden it's like, Reed! Lieutenant Reed is... Come in.
This is Reed.
It's the commissioner. You need to get to the Folly immediately. I'm sending you her coordinates.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, so you're like, and
yeah, I'm gonna finish my drink real quick.
Yeah, and it's at that time that your small data pad that you carry with you receives a message with the coordinates.
Okay, I'll try to read it.
Mick's like,
one eye thing.
Trouble?
Yeah, I need to get to my friends.
We could take you if you want. You're in no condition of driving.
That sounds fantastic. Let's go do that.
Great. I'll drive. I've only been drinking water. He smiles sheepishly at you and sets the cup down and turns on his heel and taps his friend's shoulder, and they stand and start walking out the table.
Get up and mutter, fucking asshole.
That's when, as you're walking away, you hear, no, 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 no. And two hands press against your chest. You are going to talk to me now. I own this place, you see.
Who are you?
I own this place. I'm the owner. Who I am is not your concern. What is your concern is we found an associate of yours. Unfortunately, from what I hear, he has been going into the rooms and watching the acts that are perpetrated within without paying money.
You are running a brothel. What the fuck do you think was gonna happen?
People not paying for what I serve? Oh, I don't know. How do you think a bar would happen if somebody didn't pay for their drink?
Probably take him out back and beat the shit out of him.
Are you suggesting we do that?
No. Oh.
Tell you what. You enjoy your drink. You call me when you're sober. And he hands you a plastic card.
I'm gonna take it and be like, I'll be back, and kind of just pass him.
Yeah. So the three of you step outside the doors. First Mick, and the other, his co-pilot looks at you and grabs your arm and kind of helps you out. And then immediately you hear, "There he is! Get him!" And then out of nowhere,
No!
the Russian comes from a corner with a pipe he has gotten his hands on, and he just goes, "Thung!" And the creature, Mick's partner, is like, "Oh!" and goes down to his knee. And the redneck, who's sitting on top of the doorway, on top of the sign, smokes his cigar, throws it out, and goes, "It's party time, boys! Woo!" Jumps down with his belt in his hands. And the Irish guy runs up to you and goes, "All right, come on, Mr. Reed, we got to go," and starts running you down the stairs.
I'm gonna try to push the Irishman off and be like, "Fucking stop! Fucking idiots!"
At first, they stop, and the Russian guy's like, "Pong."
You sure?
And the redneck sitting on the creature's shoulders with the belt around his neck, and the creature's like not even affected by it, because clearly the redneck doesn't understand how this species breathes. So he's just like,
what is this guy
the
doing?
redneck's like, "Boss."
Let him go. Let him go. They're helping me.
Oh my god. He releases the belt and hops down and goes, "I'm so sorry." And the Russian guy stands up and goes, "Me too, no hard feelings, we're just protecting friends." And he throws the pipe, and you just hear somebody behind him go, "Oh, ow, what the fuck?" And the Irish guy stands up sheepishly and goes, "They're under attack."
Who? Valery and them?
Yes, we just got notified by the crew of the Valery that they're under attack.
Yeah, they were gonna drive me. Whatever. Let's go.
Well, we're very, very sorry. And the creature on the ground just goes... And then Mick walks up and punches him in the shoulder and goes, "Don't worry about it. He's a big fella. He can take it. Right?" And he just stands and doesn't say a word. And he's like, "All right, follow me, boys. Ship's big enough for all of us." And the camera pans over. Grakazza, you are laying on the ground as you see one of the gangs approaching, opening fire at the other gang. It's pure pandemonium. And that's when you see somebody come over the top of the folly and land in front of you. And when you look up, one of the gang members with a vibro club, and he's like, he goes, and then he swings down to hit you, and that's when you actually hear, what makes him stop is he hears the sound of a siren. Some of the gang members run away, but the others are like, no, stay, fight. And they're still shooting, but he stops to look up. And in slow motion, the hovercraft comes around the corner, the cockpit opens up on it, and you see a figure in dark blue leap out of it. They're like, "It's the commissioner," in slow motion. The guy with the bat goes, "Huh?" and turns around. And right as he turns around, you just see his face go, "Ooh," a weird expression with a white haze. And immediately with speed, the commissioner's blue uniform is seen streaking across the other side, raising his lightsaber, deflecting the blue bolts and sending him back towards a lot of the guards. As he approaches the gangsters on the other scene, he leaps into the air, reaches out a hand, and force pushes a few of them into some crates, lands down, takes a shot in the shoulder, looks at the guy and throws a lightsaber, which knocks a bunch of pipes down on them, like, so they panic and scurry away from the boxes. He reaches his hand out, and his lightsaber comes back to his hand, and he's doing everything with the hand that was not cut off. It appears his metal hand only works as something to hold things. He doesn't use it to use the Force. And he turns over to the other gang that still remains standing, the ones that initially started the fight. And he's like, you, and you. If you don't want to be in my precinct tomorrow answering questions, you're going to bugger off. So immediately they scramble in the speeder and leaving their dead friend behind. And that's when the commissioner walks up to you guys. He puts a lightsaber on his belt. He reaches down and grabs Grakazza's hand and lifts him up.
Thank you.
Grakazza, how old are you?
Probably mid-40s.
Mid-40s? Okay, yeah. Next question. Do you have any recollection of, were you born on Kashyyyk like a traditional Wookiee, or were you born elsewhere?
I was born in Kashyyyk. The whole thing was I escaped as the Empire was colonizing it.
Right.
After the
Perfect. Would you say that you participated in the Wookiee fight during the Clone Wars? Which was about, you would have been about 25.
Yeah, I definitely would have.
Then you know about Yoda, and you've seen him speak to this man. Like, you almost do a double take when you look at him.
Oh, okay. Are you?
He kind of looks at you. And he says, yes, I know you're behind the ramp. Come out, it's safe. And he turns over to Valery.
She gets up kind of a little weak-kneed after all this, and then going over to poor Tittles' arm.
Yeah, you look at Tittles, and Tittles turns around and goes, womp, 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 womp. And your wrist pad is saying, losing power in all systems. I don't know what happened. Hello? I can't see anything.
Oh. I'll call for someone on the ship if there's any of the other scientists, if they could come down and get him.
Yeah, immediately they're like, is it safe?
It's safe. Come on down. It's all right.
So they come down and they look at the back and they're like, oh, Tittles, and they hit the turn-off switch, which dims Tittles out, and they lift it up, and her entire body casing has just been blown apart from the arm socket, and they must have punctured one of the batteries, because the smoke that you see is the plastic on fire, so it's this black putrid plastic smoke.
Oh, poor Tittles. All right. Thank you. We can just get him up in the ship. Then I turn over to the commissioner. Thank you.
He doesn't say anything. He's like, you know, I have to quit now.
I know.
They associate
She
this
could come
with
with
the,
us.
They associate this with the Sith. They tap the lightsaber. In their galaxy, there is no Jedi.
Well, you're welcome to come with us if you don't feel safe being here anymore.
Do I have a choice?
I don't know. Do you?
He kind of narrows
You know
his
this-
eyes.
You know this world better than I do, or this galaxy.
Well, we're gonna be hard. We're gonna be hard pressed to get the fuel. Without my backing, I don't think you'll have much sway on the banking guild. Meanwhile,
Well,
on a Corellian cruiser flying through the city, Coran, you're sitting in the passenger seat, and the seats in here have a wool that kind of looks like the wool from a tauntaun. A white wool on all of the seats. Mick's sitting there in the front seat with his eye patch and a trucker's hat on, and he's got dice, some sort of gambling dice apparatus hanging from the top of his cockpit. And it seems that at every interval there are cup holders that have been manually installed for thermos beverages. And there are 3 thermos beverages in the console right now as he's talking to you. And he goes over and grabs one and drinks it and goes, oh, God, that's from the other day. And tosses it behind him and you hear it rolling. Then he reaches over for another one, opens it, and starts drinking it. And his throttle, instead of being in the dash, it's a big floor stick. Kind of like a stick shift in a truck. So he just grabs it and goes, and he controls it with the whole weight of his arm. Okay. And unlike having smaller joysticks to fly the vehicle, or using another apparatus that's just entering coordinates, for his manual control, it's built in the chair. So he's got 2 manual controls in the chair, and he drives the ship similar to a tank. So you see him, you see he's very active in his chair, even though he's looking at you talking like casually. It almost makes you nervous because you'll do a sideways flight through 2 buildings, and it's like you can actually see all the shocked people in the offices as you fly by. He's just saying forward and goes, then we had this one job, you wouldn't even believe the sumbitch. They didn't put any kind of cages in my ship at all, and the creatures ended up getting out. People thought I was a bounty hunter because I'm running around like a crazy guy, and then the ship banks to the right and he flies under some beams. And that's when you see a bunch of taxis going, and he hits the deceleration on the ship, and it goes, and if the edge of a building was right here, the way he's pulling up on the ship, he ends up stopping the ship right before it hits the building, and then uses the building's wall as a thrust to kick off. Mm-hmm. So the people in the office just see a bright blue light, and they're like, ah, as he's careening past those taxis. He goes, those are the boys you want. Right there. One of the most vile gangs in this city that unfortunately has its grip on the economic populi, if you know what I mean. Coran, could you roll a perception against 3 purple with 1 setback because you are intoxicated?
Yes, sir. 3 purple, 1 setback.
Oh, absolutely, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
And perception.
I mean, that's how I roll. No, that's how you roll.
That's how I'm gonna roll, yeah. Okay, and perception. Oh, nope.
Fail and a setback. So you're like, are those cop cars? And he's just looks at you like, what? And you strain. Take 1 strain. Okay. He goes, no, this is a gang that owns the largest the largest transit taxi company in the entire planet. It's when he says taxi company that you're like, oh, and you start to realize who it is. And all of a sudden, the speaker crackles on like a trucker's radio, and he takes the handset off and then hands it to you.
He'll grab it, kind of, like, this is Lieutenant Reed.
Is Mick with you, that asshole?
1 moment. It's for you, asshole.
He picks it up. Francis, how's it going? Listen, prick, we just had a run-in with the commissioner. You leave us out of this, and we won't mess you up. You know, I can't let you do that. What was it they did to your friends? He looks over at Lieutenant Reed. And he, like, hands the radio back to you.
He's kind of looking at him like, what? It's like,
that's when you hear a voice behind you. Sir, that's what we were trying to tell you about, the folly being under attack.
Oh. This is the asshole that did that?
And then he's flying. He goes, well, if the commissioner dealt with them, then I'm assuming so. I wouldn't imagine the commissioner would allow that to go on.
Well, Reed, being intoxicated, gonna pick up the mic and go, listen, asshole, you ever try to attack my friends again, I will fucking kill you.
Oh, big words. What are you, mixed bitch now? And then you hear his guys in the background going, ha ha ha.
Sounding like you got a choir of pussies running away.
And all of a sudden they stop laughing. They're like, Mick, you better shut your bitch up. Mick
Would you
looks
like to
over.
talk to him?
Mick looks over to Coran and goes, well, what do you want to do?
There's the hang up button.
Oh, you just hang it back on this thing. They
Yeah.
hear that? They hear that? It's like, oh, click, and it hangs up. They're like, well. So yeah, the ships have scattered from the platform, Grakazza and Valery. Coran and Mick go in hot pursuit behind them. And you guys are standing there with Mace.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go up to the ship and see how everything else is. So Valery just kind of stumbles back up the
ramp
thing, and she's going to go and find a cold compress for her face and see if everyone else is okay, and then find out just how bad Tittles is messed up.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go up into the med lab. That's where you keep all those supplies. And you've got a bunch of artifacts on the ship that you guys have been studying. In fact, if the planetary people knew that you had all this Sith equipment on the ship, they'd probably flip their lid. But you notice that...
We'll lock that up.
Well, yeah, but those interns are studying it. I mean, it's locked up, but in the science lab, some of them are in tubes and things like that. And you notice that one of the artifacts that has been placed in a special type of mineral oil to preserve it is actually glowing. And given your experience with this kind of stuff, you seem to recognize it. What would you like to roll to see if you could interpret what the glowing means? I literally imagine you're sitting there at the freezer with it open, the cold press is in front of you, and you see this artifact is glowing.
Probably by xenology.
Yeah, why don't you roll xenology with the difficulty of 2?
Okay.
You've been spending some time with this, and that was actually the roll I was looking for.
Okay, and that's 2 purple, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Well, with
my
3...
head hurts a little bit, so I was like, she's not quite sure at the moment still.
I think the
from
failure...
what just happened.
Yeah, I think the failure is that you don't know what it means, but I think the advantage is that you know you need to point this out.
All right. So I'm going to call over some of the other scientists.
Okay, now
and...
make the roll again, only add a boost die, and make it with 1 purple.
Okay.
So you're sitting there with the cold compress over your eye, or over
your
did
I do it with...
temple.
Did you say... Okay, so just 1 purple and...
1 purple and 1 blue.
Okay. And...
Okay, so again with 3 advantage, which is pretty significant. I'm not going to tell you everything about it, but I am going to tell you that you recognize this particular pulse. It was the message that the Sith artifact was giving above Ansaria before it activated.
So this thing could be acting like some kind of like a beacon to like a homing device. Or this is where, what is that called? Is it a homing device? Where it goes off, where you're like, come here, that kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like a distress caller.
Like a beacon, like a nav beacon.
Yeah, something like we're located here. So. All right.
The thing that makes you a little nervous is you guys have been studying it for like 5 minutes as Grakazza and Mace make their way on board. And you realize that it's getting faster, and now you can hear it. It's like...
Do we have something that we could put this in that might block that signal? Some kind of case or something?
Yeah, sir.
Would we have something like that?
Well, it's already got the Durasteel glass. We could put a lead shield over it.
To completely block it, so it does not get its beam out, because this could be going out now.
Well,
as
it's
we
not...
speak.
Sir, according to these reports, and they point to the computer, it's not sending a beam out, it's receiving a beam.
Really? All right. Can we decipher what it's receiving?
Yeah, absolutely. The interns kind of run over and they're like, interesting. This is just like the Sith casket that they found on that one planet. It's giving off the same radio signatures. And they're all like,
All right,
oh,
so
ooh, oh yeah. Grakazza, you and Mace walk into the room, and you notice the flashing as well. And you recognize the pattern.
Do I come to the same conclusion? Do I know that much about it, or
Would you like to roll?
I just recognize that pattern.
You just
Yeah,
recognize the pattern.
What's the difficulty for that roll?
Well, what are you rolling?
Oh,
You can roll whatever you want, even in mechanics. You know, even a computers. It's just depending on which one you choose, the difficulty might be harder.
let's go with mechanics.
All right.
Just roll it.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Duh. 2 difficulty. Because mechanics and xenology were the 2 skills I was looking for. I'm going to edit that dead space later. I'm like, yeah. Oh, it's my turn. Whoops. My bad. Okay, so the advantage is you notice that you're feeling compelled to touch it. Like it feels very familiar to you.
Okay. Do I see Val right now? Is she still standing in front of the artifact?
Yeah, she's taking notes.
I call out to Val and say, Val, what is this thing? What's going on?
As you're calling out to her, you're finding it incredibly hard to take your eyes off of it. So it's like, hey Val, what is this thing? And then Mace's jaw drops and he goes, you brought one of these here?
What is these?
This is a key.
What kind of key?
To open the gates. They're normally kept in capital ships.
Well, it sort of came with us it was inside of a sarcophagus.
Interesting. Grakazza, you have flashbacks of you going and getting knocked on your ass. Maybe some of your Wookiee fur is still burned on the side.
Oh, it's this thing again.
Wait. Mace stops. I don't get it. If it's receiving a message, then that means... Coran, you're in a YT Corellian cruise or freighter, and Mick is chasing these guys, and then all of a sudden he goes, I know, and his friend's just looking at him. He goes, okay, well then do what you can about it. I can't do anything, I'm flying. You want me to run the ship all by my own? Here, why don't you take the controls? And he wheels away from the controls, and they're just sitting there where his chair was, and the tall alien's like, and steps forward and grabs the controls, and he's trying to fight it down, and Mick's like, there, now can I do my job? Why don't you go do yours? And you guess that he gestures and says some sort of curse and ducks his head as he goes into the back. And he waits until the door shuts and goes, shit, fighters.
You got guns on this thing?
Yeah, you want to go man the guns? I'll take us up into orbit.
Yeah, you got communications to my buddies? Which
no.
He means the 3 wise men.
Okay. Oh, they're sitting right in the cockpit with you.
Oh, okay. Which one of you can shoot guns?
Well, I happen to be... Alright, let's face it. He's good with the ladies. The redneck there, he's good at fixing anything that breaks. Thank you, kindly. Me, on the other hand, I'm your shooter.
Fine. O'Brien, you're with me. Jebediah, get to the engine room.
Pavlov.
Points to the Russian. You do what you do.
Thank you. And he sits down and starts... thinking, what is it I do? And he looks over at the lead pipe and then looks back toward the direction that the Italian went, later I do what I do. I get the communications for now. How does that sound, good friend? Mick's like, yeah. Send me the one that I don't even fucking understand, he mumbles under his breath. Coran, you and O'Brien, you head into the hallway. He goes to the lower turbo laser. There's a turbo laser on this now. It's huge.
Oh my
ship,
god!
It can't even fly. He goes down to the lower turret, and you go up to the upper turret. And then Jedediah is just casually strolling back to the engine, and he looks over at the tall alien who's working on preparing the ship for damage, and he goes, you know, if you actually cross 30% of the power over, risk a little bit of overheating, it won't be a big deal because we're going to be venting these gases in space anyway. You could actually get more higher throughput through your shields. It's against manual, but I know what I'm talking about. The alien's like, and they start working together on mixing the fuels and getting everything right. And then all of a sudden, you come out into orbit, and the fighters are right behind you, and Mick flips his shit. Because right before him is an entire fleet of ships approaching a fueling station. He's never seen these ships. They're obviously capital cruisers. There's not even any rhyme or reason to their design. There's just turbo lasers everywhere. There's dreadnoughts, Corellian corvettes, and that's when he sees it. In the middle of the fleet, there's this beautiful, sleek, flashy ship called the Fortune Finder. He's like, hello, what have we got here? And the Russian looks over and goes, oh, that's gambling ship, but they never let us on because we are military personnel. Really? Well, that's a shame. Let's go say a hello, right? And then the ship starts flying towards the fleet with these fighters inbound. Meanwhile, Grakazza, Valery. Another report comes. This is big. And they hand you a little plastic card. Now remember, plastic cards in my universe are things that can slide into one data pad and another. They're like giant flash drives, so you can go zzz and just transfer everything. Because I think the 1970s sci-fi is that not everything's wireless, and I kind of like that. Otherwise, why have R2-D2 have to plug into shit? I don't get it. He's like, I'm Wi-Fi, bitch. So, Valery, you get handed the plastic card that you could slide into your data pad. Which for you, it snaps into your wrist and actually slides around your arms so that you can pull it in and out. Oh. And you start realizing that there's EMF gravitational fields. And they're spiking. And they're spiking just as fast as when that gate opened at Ansaria. But it's a little different because there is another gate that's already closing. So there's two fields, but one of the fields is getting stronger while the gate that's closing is shutting down.
We have to destroy the gate.
One of the
if we don't
scientists
destroy
goes,
that gate, what's going to come through it?
There's no gate.
We know.
There's no gate. That's not how the space station act. When we saw the ships coming in,
right.
They just appeared out of nowhere. The gate is on their end.
All right.
This is coming from a gate.
The rebel fleet. Okay. We have to contact the fleet, and they need to fire all of take all their firepower and just point it directly onto the event horizon thing, and
they're taking notes.
And just as soon as whatever comes through, destroy it. Or, wait a minute. Maybe there's a way to use the gate to destroy the fleet coming through.
I did have this idea.
Once they start going through this, what?
Well, go ahead.
That once the gate opens and they start coming through that channel, there's got to be a way that we can hit it or force it to close with them in it. So they can't get out either way, and it collapses in on them, and that alone should destroy them. Perfect science.
All of a sudden, Mace is stroking his chin and goes, you know, we can do that. There's a command facility in the middle of the beacon. It's disguised as a sun, but nobody goes there. Only the operators are there.
Would you like to take the Folly up there?
It's the sun. Your ship will burn up. The only way to go up there, you guys remember when I was describing it, how there were things floating around the sun, and it was like, and it looked like a ring of sorts? So the beacon has the halo, and then the sun, and the artificial sun in the middle that does gravity, and then these little flat metal slabs that are rotating around it, creating a gravity field and stuff. Mace explains to you that they sometimes come down to check on systems in those flat ships.
Oh, okay.
But they don't communicate with anybody on the space station, and the space station does not communicate with them. But they have seen them in the code of the space station doing work and keeping everything on par. And they call them the operators. Nobody even knows what they look like, he said.
Do you know how to get us up there, or how to get to one of these vessels?
I don't even know how to communicate with them. But they're the ones that have control over the station, and they could potentially shut down the gates.
Then let's try and find a way to communicate with them. So
it's like, I wonder if we take a warhead. If we were to empty out the explosive contents of the warhead, there's a chance that we could load somebody in it and fire it into the star.
That's true.
And one of them's like, that's stupid. They would cook up in the warhead and die by the time they got there. You don't know that for a fact. The warhead's designed not to explode up under high heat temperatures until it impacts something. And then they're like, oh, One of them goes, okay, what if it impacts something? What if there's something in the star and it impacts it, and whoever's inside is like, out in space. And they're like, oh, and they start communicating with one another.
Well, then what we do with the warhead is put as much shielding on it as possible. And then when you shoot me into it, keep our fingers crossed.
The interns look at you admirably, and they're like, you're volunteering?
If someone's got to do it, it might as well be me.
As soon as you say that, every single one of them turn their head towards Grakazza.
Then I go, what? I don't think he'd fit, would he? He's too big.
One of them's like, well, we don't have any warheads on our ship. We would have to go to the Destiny Horizon. I bet their warheads are huge.
Well, that's a good point. And I'm not willing to risk Val on this, so yes, I thank you for volunteering me, but I was going to volunteer anyway.
Oh, we didn't say anything.
I just kind of glare at them.
All right, so the flight officer comes in and goes, Valery, orders for the Folly. We've got incoming fighters.
Take us up to. We need to leave and go up to one of the the Destiny Horizon. Or do you have warheads there, or would we go to one of the other ships?
Good question. Grakazza is a mechanic. He knows that there are warheads on the Destiny Horizon, but that's not really its thing. You should probably go to one of the dreadnoughts. And you know, one of the dreadnoughts is from Dantooine. So it's got a logo of the Dantooine Industries with a fist underneath it saying "Revenge will be ours." That's like its motto. And they call it the Dantooine Spear.
I know the Dantooine Spear has a few extra warheads lying around. Those people are crazy about them, but yeah. We can always go there and borrow one.
Well, then let's go. So, Captain, we need to get this ship off the ground and head to the...
You're the captain, man. Sorry.
No, what about the what's his name? She's in charge of like the scientist thing, but there was still the captain of the ship.
He was injured in the fight, so you took the helm of the ship until he's better.
Okay. Grakazza, can you fly? Probably better than me.
Well, you've got pilots. Like, you're basically like Captain Picard.
All right.
You just bark orders to your crew and get them going.
All right. Or Mace or whoever else. So.
Yeah, so you bark orders to the crew, and the Folly starts to lurch and lift up off the platform, kicks back at a 30-degree angle, and starts to blast towards the orbit.
So while this is going on, I'm going to converse with the scientists and get all the information we need, putting it on pads and things, so that when I am launched off, and hopefully I make it on board the space station and can have all of the information needed to point out to who and whatever is running the sun, and shut down the gate.
Yeah, they start working on that immediately, and they're like, what languages do you think that they're talking? And they're getting distracted, but, you know, you as an academic, you're also trying not to get... You're like, yeah, that is an... No. We gotta... You're like kind of corralling them up to stay on track. It's like when a D&D group in real life gets way off topic, and then all of a sudden they're talking about things that are completely unrelated to the game. You notice that, that the nerds keep going deeper into a rabbit hole that they don't need to worry about right now.
Is there a way that we could get part of Tittles to work, like his head, and I can take it with me?
We could hook it up to the ship. We could put his consciousness in the ship until he's restored.
That, but I'm thinking of possibly I wanted to take his head with me over in case I needed to plug something in or have him. Maybe he might have a way to, because he's sort of from here. He might be able to communicate with them.
They kind of look down and we don't even have the technology to repair him. I mean, there's a chance that one of the civilian ships might, and Saria was big on robotics.
Let me take him with me anyway. You know, what his, once I get over there, maybe there's something they might be able to do.
But what if he explodes?
At least part of him. You mean if
there he goes.
Without...
Never mind. Problem solved. You won't be taking Tittles. No.
Okay.
No, you could take him. They're just questioning if it's a good idea because the batteries, they're explaining the batteries are overheating. They're already on fire.
Oh.
You know, he's a big problem. In that tube, you would suffocate.
Right. We'll leave Tittles here.
But we could hook him up to the ship and at least use long-range communications to communicate with your wrist piece. One of them goes, what if we dismantle the interface device on his chest and try to make you, I don't know, maybe something that you can carry with you?
That's what I was thinking of.
They're like, well, we could probably get some external batteries, wire them up, put them in a hot case. They're like, yeah, a hot case. We'll take a systems board, remove it, put the put the droid's components in it, hook him up to the ship, and then you can use him to interface, and he would be able to do all the work through long-range communications. They're like, and they start screaming off, and Grakazza, your head's just like... No, actually, being a mechanic, you're like, if you need to build something like that, I'm your boy.
Basically, yeah.
So they grab your hand and they're like, yeah, come on. And they want to show you to their junk drawer, is what they call the room. It's literally the room they toss failed experiments in. They call it the junk drawer. And I think the funny thing about it is it used to be a really nice bedroom quarters, but there's literally a hoarder's pile of shit in every corner. So they lead you to this room and it opens up and they kind of get nervous. They're like, please don't hate us. And it opens up and you see the mess. To them, they're afraid you're like, reet. But in reality, you're like, ah, as all of this techno junk is just amazing. If only Jedediah were here.
I turn to them and say, why have you been holding out on me?
And you just go in and you're like, I need to be alone. And the door shuts. Yeah, they go in with you to help you out. And they're like, here's some of the components we need. And you guys go to town. So, Grakazza, I'm going to need you to roll a mechanics roll against a difficulty of 3 purple. That's just going to tell me if you find something valuable. If you don't, you're going to have to roll a mechanics roll on some other difficulty. Feel free to use the light side point. You didn't, but you still got it. All right. So, you got a success, which means you build this device and it will work without fail. And you hand it to Valery, and it only takes you about 20 minutes. Well, you haven't built it yet, but it takes you about 20 minutes to gather the parts. And you're like, I need some time to build it, but I know this will work. The Folly enters orbit, which, in my mind, it takes about 20 minutes to leave a planet's orbit. It's not like everybody in Star Wars goes trying to get out of the planet's surface. So I think this one would probably take 15-20 minutes. And you guys enter the orbit. As soon as you do, you see these fighters break off of a YT Corvette or a YT freighter in front of you and start coming back. And Coran, you're in the gunner seat and you realize you're probably way too drunk for this, 'Cause you're trying to you're trying to focus, and the stars in space are just spiraling, and it's like, and that's when you see the fighters. You actually swear you see one of the pilot's eyes go when it sees the fleet, and then they all immediately just break off and go back.
Of course, I'm just gonna be like, that's fucking right. You don't want to fight with us.
Do you shoot a couple rounds needlessly in his face? You're like,
like
pew, pew, pew. I chased him off, guys.
I did it.
Yeah, so
I'll fire a few rounds, but I mean, you know, they're gonna be like fucking way off.
yeah, you're firing a few rounds, and they just bank harder. And then you see the Folly come out of orbit and start following you up.
Are the fighters I mean, I can't really tell, but does it look like the fighters are going for the Folly? Or
Oh no, they went around the Folly. They're like, gang, 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 we're getting out of here.
Fuck this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get on communications with the Russian and end Mick and tell them to, you know, hey, we need to escort the Folly.
So you get on communications and you hear. You know, your headset did that a couple days ago when you were on the Destiny.
Oh, fuck. I'm gonna start trying to climb down to get to the cockpit.
Can I have you roll in athletics with 3 difficulty and 2 black, please?
Oh, you asshole. Okay. 2 black and 3 fucking asshole. Athletics. Oh, please don't fail me now.
So you're like,
Yes.
whoa, oh, and you catch yourself, and you realize that if you would have fallen, you wouldn't have went to the mid deck. You would have gone all the way down and landed on O'Brien, who's climbing up at this moment. And as you're looking,
I kind of like come down and like, oh, okay,
right. And as you're looking down, like, sorry, O'Brien, you see a purple haze coming through the window below, and even O'Brien's looking down, and Mick's like, I don't remember this gate.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to, make my way to the
You get to your
cockpit.
feet, O'Brien helps you up, and you run to the cockpit. You're starting to sober up a little bit. And that's when you look out of the cockpit, and you see a very familiar gate. You know this gate. It was the gate that you guys were staring at when the Destiny Horizon was locked into it, and you were going right to it.
Oh, shit. Does it look like it'll be pulling us, or it's opening for
Well, the
someone to
fleet's
come
not
through?
being pulled in.
So okay, so I'm gonna look at the Russian and say, get me communications to either the Folly or the Destiny Horizon.
Sir, communications are fried. The last time, I'm sorry, I lost my accent a little bit. I guess I'm becoming one of you now. So the communications are fried. The last time this happened, Jurg put something special in computer to make work. Go get Jurg.
He's not with me.
Well, shit, dude, where did Jurg go? I thought he was with you guys. And that's when you remember the business card in your pocket.
I'll pull it out and look at it.
It's the name of the guy who owns that brothel.
Yeah.
And it says, if you want him back, reach us sooner than later. He's got lots of pieces.
Oh, fuck.
And then that's when all of a sudden he goes, we have something on our scanners. Meanwhile, over on the Folly, somebody's like, Valery, we have something on our scanners.
What is it?
Look.
I'm going look.
So you go up to the cockpit, and that's when you see the purple haze. And I think Grakazza sees this too as he's finishing up his device. And you guys look out, and there is a Corellian Corvette that just goes and kind of floats out. And it's got burn marks all over it, and it looks like it's been obliterated. And then another one appears out of nowhere. A third, a fourth, a fifth. And a swarm of TIE fighters merge out of this portal as if it was belching them. It's just like, and they're like, and they start coming in. And then you see the front end of a Star Destroyer coming through, and then an interdictor class behind it. And immediately the gravity wells kick on, and when the gravity wells kick on, something happens to the star of the space station, and it just goes dark. And it's a metal orb now. And all of the things floating around it, they turn around and they start flying towards the ring. The ring is now pitch black. Everybody on the surface of the planet's like, huh? What's going on? The people with the Gas Federation were like, activates our portal and get us out of here. And you see that one gate that had closed starting to open again. There's 2 gates open. Their ships are trying to leave. Imperial ships are coming through. And then right when it comes through, the bridge of the Imperial Star Destroyer lights up in a vibrant purple and then fades away. As there is the Rebel fleet right outside the orbit of this ring world. Admiral August sits up in his chair and goes, "Yes! Yes! Kill them all!" And that is where we are going to leave off for our first break. So, join us for part 2 in this 4-part series in episode 5 of the Destiny Horizon. Thank you very much.